Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your latest Manchester United news. And by God, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. I know I say it every time, but we really do this time. Ligt and Mazraoui in Manchester. Medicals are done and dusted. Media work supposedly this evening has been done. And I think we're going to get the absolute confirmation by Manchester United tomorrow morning. So we'll talk about that and the importance of the signings in general. We're going to have a little discussion about that, and of course I want your opinions on it. Wan-Bissaka looks to be gone in the other direction, out the door to West Ham. We'll talk about that as well. Are Manchester United finished in the transfer market? That's the big question that we're going to be answering tonight. We've heard reports suggesting that it may not be, and not only are we maybe not done in the transfer market, but we might actually be looking at signing another defender. So we'll talk about that as well. Are we going to go for a striker? We're been linked with another Premier League striker tonight, so we'll talk about that as well. I also want to talk about our updates on midfield. We haven't signed anybody in midfield yet, and that's the concern. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Is Jadon Sancho's potential move out of Manchester United over, off, done and dusted? We'll talk about that. And then small bits about Scott McTominay and Victor Lindelof as well. Some updates on them. But as always, guys, please do smash a like on the video. Do hit subscribe if you are new to the channel. We're on the road to 11,000 subscribers. We're less than, I think we're about, just over 100 away from 11,000 subscribers. So if you are new, do smash that subscribe button. It does help out the channel an awful lot. And hit the like button as well if you haven't done so already. Get your votes in on the poll as well. We've got a poll running in the live chat. Are United finished in the transfer market? At the moment, 29% saying yes, 71% saying no. So we'll talk about that. Get your comments in as well, guys. Want to go through as many comments from me as possible. So like I said, if you are new, hit that subscribe button, jump into the chat and get your opinions in and we'll read them out as we go. But I do want to start, guys, with obviously the big news today is that Mazraoui and Ligt are in Manchester and were there early this morning for their medicals. Went on throughout the morning into the afternoon and then later in the afternoon we got this from Fabrizio Romano and it says Ligt and Mazraoui, I can't pronounce his first name. I have to start practicing his first name. Have just completed medicals tests at Carrington. Contracts set to be signed on both clubs and players' side with agent Rafaela Pimenta in Manchester. All documents to be okay within 24 hours as MDL and Mazraoui will be ready for Fulham. And that's the big end to the tweet there. They will be ready for Fulham, he says. Now, that's absolutely huge news. He also says that Ligt and Mazraoui have already met with Erik ten Hag today. And of course, then we reiterate that they will be available to play against Fulham on Friday. Now, do you play them against Fulham on Friday? That's the big question when you're talking about... Now, whatever about Mazraoui, I suppose you could say Mazraoui. I mean, we started with Lisandro Martinez at left back in the Community Shield only last week. So, you know, when you're talking about these two guys, I think we can absolutely 100% say there's a big chance that they come directly into the team. And, you know, let's get a poll on it and see what you guys think. And, you know, obviously we'll get your opinions on it. Do MDL and Mazraoui start versus Fulham? There you go. Get your votes in on the poll in the live chat. Let me know. Do you think Ligt and Mazraoui will start against Fulham? Now, look, we know obviously the injury to Lenny Yoro, desperately disappointing, and we need another centre back, and we're getting a very good one in my opinion. I'm very excited about this signing, I have to say. And a lot of people saying, you know, he's bummed out at two clubs. I think that's nonsense, to be quite honest with you. He went to Juventus and actually done quite well and wanted to leave. I think, did Bayern sign him for 70 million or something, or 75 million, something crazy like that. Now, had a really good season last year, and then the season just gone, probably dropped off a little bit. But I still think we're getting a 24-year-old who's played under Erik ten Hag before. And, you know, I think I think the Premier League will suit him massively. I really, really do. Big, strong, physical lad, good in the air, good in a tackle, reads the game very well, and good with the ball at his feet. I think we're getting a good player now. So talking about Fulham, and I will have my I'll have my match preview up on Wednesday when we do our predicted 11s and so on. I mean, absolutely, I would bring him in. You know, Lisandro Martinez there, you know, left centre back. Are you going to play him? He will have maybe 10 days of pre-season training by the time Fulham rolls around. Is that enough for him? He's after playing a lot of football over the summer, so you'd expect him to have some form of baseline fitness ready to go. Now, I will admit 100% with the Community Shield on the weekend, I know he was being played out of position, but he looked off the pace. Lisandro Martinez did, in my opinion. Now, again, we don't know the amount of training and the amount of intensity that the likes of Ligt has been going through. I don't think he went on Bayern's pre-season tour, did he? I don't think he did. So, I mean, intensity levels of playing pre-season games, you know, getting that real hard yards in when you go on pre-season tour, he might not have. But what's the alternative? The alternative is Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, or Johnny Evans, you know. Now, look, you would say that Fulham is, and I don't want this to come back and bite me in the arse, Stratton, but Fulham is not the most difficult game you could have to start your season. It's not one you'd be taken for granted, but can you bring in Matthijs de Ligt straight away and play him alongside Lisandro Martinez? Absolutely. I think you can, you know, and I think, you know, with the two of them there, I think we can get 3 points. Now, Mazraoui, on the other hand, I think Mazraoui could come straight into the team. Now, he did go on the pre-season tour with Bayern, and, you know, he probably has a higher baseline fitness level at the moment than Matthijs de Ligt. And we know the issue that's going on at left back at the moment. You know, Luke Shaw is okay to play for England in the Euros, but all of a sudden, you know, a month later when the start of the season rolls around, he's not available. So I would bring Mazraoui in 100%. Now, we do know we're getting Mazraoui in. We do know there's a concern around his injury record as well. I think if he can stay fit, I think he starts. I really do. We've got him and Delors now. Both players can play at both right back and left back, which is a good option to have and a good headache to have for the manager. And I think there's going to be some serious pressure on Luke Shaw. And I think whoever stays fitter between Mazraoui, Delors, and Luke Shaw starts, in my opinion. I honestly think that. And I can sense and I can feel the frustration in the fan base, you know, especially from what I see online about Luke Shaw being out injured again. It's so bloody frustrating, to be quite honest with you. You know, and we're going to be talking about Luke Shaw missing minimum 10 games this season, because he misses minimum 10 games every season. And if, you know, potentially we go and get to the latter stages of competitions, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Europa League, hopefully, Luke Shaw will probably miss more, probably closer to 20 games, you would say, given the track record of his career. So I think Mazraoui coming in is going to play a lot of games. He does have a bit of a checkered injury record as well, but if he can stay fit, I think, and a lot of people talking about Amas as well, Harry Amas, should he be getting more game time? He's 17, lads. He's 17. I liked him in pre-season. It is pre-season, but you want to be using him as sparingly as possible and giving him maybe 15 appearances this season. Now, I'm not talking about 15 starts. Maybe, you know, the majority of them could be off the bench. But Harry Amas is only 17 years of age. Look at, and I always go back and talk about Phil Foden with Man City. Look how long it took him to be a first-team regular, because Guardiola drip-fed him into that first team. Drip-fed all the time. And it's paid dividends. It's paid massively in relation to that. So I don't want to rush players in too soon, you know. And I understand what people will say. They'll say, well, look, Lenny Yoro is only 18 and he's after coming in for 60 million. Yes, he has. But I would also say about Lenny Yoro that if you've got a fully fit defence, okay, that includes De Ligt, Mazraoui, Delors, Martinez, whoever else is going to be there by the end of the transfer window, I don't think Lenny Yoro starts every game. I honestly don't. I think he's 18 years of age. He's still got an awful lot to learn about the game. And I think, again, I would like to see us not have to play him every game. You know what I mean? And that's my point there more than anything else. But within the space of a week, we instantly have depth in our squad. Now, what is that going to mean for the likes of, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof? And look, we'll move it on and talk about the other breaking news coming out today, and that is in relation to another centre back as well, is that Man United are expected to go back in for Branthwaite. Now, again, this Branthwaite scenario over the course of the summer has divided a lot. Not divided, but it has it has differing opinions within the United fan base in relation to the amount that he's actually worth. Now, the reports coming out today are saying that United expect Everton to accept a new £60 million bid for Jarrad Branthwaite. Now, we do know that they haven't budged at all on their £75 million valuation of him. I think 60 million is too much. I will say that right now. I think 60 million for Jarrad Branthwaite is too much. Let's get away from the price for a moment here and say, if Jarrad Branthwaite comes in, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof will have to leave. I mean, they're going to be 5th and 6th choice centre-backs when everybody is fit. You're going to have Lisandro Martinez and Jarrad Branthwaite as your 2 left-footed centre-backs, and you're going to have De Ligt and Euro as your 2 right-footed centre-backs. You've also then got Mazraoui and Delot, and then you've got Luke Shaw, and your man that's gone missing whenever he's going to be back, and of course Harry Amas there as well. I mean, unbelievable depth. If we could pull off a 60 million bid for Jarrad Branthwaite, will it happen? I don't think it will, to be quite honest with you. I think given the fact that we've spent a decent amount of money now on 4 players so far, I do think that we're going to have to tighten the purse strings a little bit. Although, I think if we can get players out the door, I think it will probably free up more money to go out and and to buy more players. But we'll get onto that in a moment as well. Let's get down through some of your comments to see what you guys are saying here. David says, evening Jack, isn't it refreshing to see United getting signings done relatively quickly? I'm actually excited for Friday night now. Absolutely. I'm absolutely buzzing for it, David. And we will be live for it as well, by the way, guys. So make sure you are tuning in. We'll be live from 7 o'clock on Friday night for the Watch Along Live. So if you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. We've got 60 people watching at the moment and only 25 likes. Get the thumbs up going as well for me if you can. It helps the channel out an awful lot. Let's try get to 50 likes by the end of the live. I do appreciate it. But yeah, buzzing now for Friday. Absolutely. Daryl says, I don't think he's going to start them. Yeah, well, again, I mean, we spoke about that as well the other night, Daryl, didn't we? That, you know, historically at Manchester United, Erik ten Hag hasn't put players in straight away. You know, he's drip fed them in, you know, as soon as they signed. Like Casemiro is a prime example. You know, we were desperate for Casemiro after the first 2 games of the season, and then when he arrived, Ten Hag didn't play. I didn't start him for 4 games, you know. So let's see what happens, but it's good to have them there. Danny says, Matthias de Ligt and Mazraoui. How do you say his Nusair, is it Nusair Mazraoui? I can't pronounce his first name. I need to hear someone saying it. And Man United medicals done and dusted, no issues or problems. The fact that they will be ready for Fulham is just brilliant. Happy days, United fans. David says, wouldn't be surprised if Mazraoui goes straight in at left back. Me neither. Me neither, to be honest with you. Reece says, anybody see that Zubamendi rejected Liverpool? I did. I seen it just before I came live. I quote tweeted it with a lot of laughing faces. Go over and follow us on Twitter as well, guys, if you haven't. Link is in the description. Yeah, absolute brilliant news. Yeah, he's decided not only to reject Liverpool, but he's rejecting him to stay at Real Sociedad, which is just makes it even funnier. Yeah, I mean, they're in big trouble. They haven't signed anybody yet. Finn says, probably spring them off the bench and ease them in. Nobody wants to touch Liverpool since Klopp jacked it in. I know. I mean, they're having the same kind of transfer window that we had between Ferguson and Moyes. And we ended up with Fellaini. And then we got Wan-Bissaka into January. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't think Liverpool are getting top 4 this season. I honestly don't. I honestly, unless your man is a genius and pulls it out of the bag, but I don't think so. Amas should even start over Shaw, says Daryl. Oshin is in. He says, Shaw started at 17, old enough, good enough, age is just a number. Busby Babes, we've the history of it. Yeah, I agree, Oshin, 100%, 100%. But again, we've seen Harry Amas playing twice, you know what I mean? So, Ten Hag obviously sees him day in, day out, and he's obviously going, well, if we're going to bring in another left back, it's maybe to give Amas maybe that 2 or 3 year grace period to be drip fed into the team. Get Fafana and Berg says, Anthony, we're going to talk about central midfield in a moment. Ben says it's good to have players now that are good enough to share the workload. Absolutely, Ben, share the workload. We've been talking about this an awful lot, that people are saying, you're signing a lad that's not good enough to get into the first 11. But sometimes making a signing doesn't have to be for the first 11. We haven't had depth in our squad in a long, long time now. And sometimes you can just have a lad there that can give your main lad a rest, And I think, a lot of people were saying it about Mason Mount last year. Why are we going out and getting Mason Mount? And to be honest, the more I look at him, the more I think he's probably just going to be a backup to Bruno. But, you're getting players in there now. If we'll talk about Berg in a minute, or whoever the case may be, depth in the squad and competition for places is vital for squad health. It really is. Lindelof has to be first out the door. Maguire might be kept for the quota. Leave Branthwaite where he is, says Oshin. Danny says, I'd cash in on Luke Shaw while we can get something for him. See, the thing about it is, Danny, with Luke Shaw, is that who's going to want to touch him now, okay? He's had injuries the majority of last season, and he's carried him over into the new season. He also has massive wages, and you're going to have to pay a pretty decent transfer fee for him as well. I think we're stuck with Luke Shaw. I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Shaw sees out his contract. When is his contract up? Let me see. Luke Shaw contract expiry 2027. Yeah, so we've got 3 more years of Luke Shaw, unless he's one of the very few that decides he wants to play first team football if he finds himself out of the team. Where are we suddenly getting all this cash from, says Oshin. The cash is there. Cash was always there. The issue now is to actually try and balance the books and get players gone. And we found it easier to sign players than we have to actually get rid of players. So, like we're going to talk about McTominay, we're going to talk about Sancho, and I think the fact that we're getting more players in at centre-back now, surely that puts the scoots up, Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire to say, look, boys, I like getting me, 200 grand a week or whatever it is, but I'm literally going to be getting splinters in my arse for the season, with the signings that we're getting. Just back out of Branthwaite and get Hermoso. Yeah, so there has been an update on that as well, guys, while it's mentioned there by Dylan, and that Manchester United have rejected the opportunity to sign the 22-year-old incredible free agent, supposedly. While United must cover all bases, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, where are we? Down here. The 29-year-old, who's a product of Real Madrid's academy, has spent his career in Spain. Blah, blah, blah. Reports have suggested that Hermoso was specifically offered to United, presumably due to the widely covered need for a backline depth. He can play both centre-back and left-back, which are 2 positions that have been plagued by injuries in the past year. Ineos Chiefs have instead pursued their own targets in the form of Matthijs Ligt and Mazraoui, both of whom are expected to finalise their moves. Yeah, so United have pretty much gone with Mazraoui, I think, in terms of that full-back position. But in terms of the right-back position, we've heard, obviously, that, if these reports are to be believed, that they're going to have another go at Branthwaite. Now, that's not to say, some of these reports can be very premature. It's not to say that we won't go back in for this guy. This guy is a free agent, and free agents never sign contracts early in the transfer window. They always leave it till the last minute to get players or to sign a deal with a new club. And the reason for that is they're keeping their options open. And United are probably going to dip their toe back in the Branthwaite pool. And if that doesn't work, then we'll go, all right, well, we'll go back in for this lad and offer him what he wants. And he'll come in as that backup left centre back who can also play left back. So, yeah. And again, this is very good tactical, forward thinking out of Ineos to say, look, we're working on numerous deals here for numerous positions. We're not going like, what Arnold and Woodward done and all of them dopes, where it's like, oh, we can't get that lad. Oh, we'll start negotiating for another one. Oh, we can't get him. Oh, who do we start negotiating with next? Ineos are here, boys. Hold on. It's like the bat phone. It's like, yeah. Oh, 1 second there. Yeah. Who? Jim. Yeah. Fran. Yeah. No, he's signing. No. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. We'll sign Boy. And it's good to see. We're we've got our fingers in many pies, as they say. So happy days. David says, I don't think we should go for Branthwaite. Rather use the money for Ugarte or a different midfielder. Well, look, that's what's going to be interesting to see, David, over the next couple of days, is where we prioritise next. If we do go in for another centre back or we go for a central midfielder. I mean, can Ugarte come in and Casemiro not leave? Because complete cool down of interest in Casemiro has happened over the last couple of weeks, and I don't think we can go and get an Ugarte and bring him into the midfield, pay the money for him and give him the wages that he'll be looking for and keep Casemiro. I just don't know if we can do that. Can we move maybe Scott McTominay on to free up some of the wages for that? Maybe. I think that could be an option if we could get rid of Scott McTominay. You could bring in Ugarte and then just say, look, Casemiro, we're bringing him in. You are now a bench player. Do you want to stay or do you want to go? And I think that might be an option there as well. But yeah, I mean, it is gone a little bit quiet in the last maybe week or so around central midfield, outside of the likes of Sander Berg, who, we'll talk about in a moment as well. Can't see a sign of Branthwaite. He would cost too much, says Danny. Let's see, what else have we got? Need to forget about Branthwaite and focus on the midfield now. Finn says United's accountants must be up the walls at the minute. Oshin says, we're stacked at centre back now. Need to get a CDM, and I'm adamant we need a striker to get us 25 plus a year. Our forwards just aren't at it for me. Well, outgoings now are important. We need to start generating some revenue from outgoings. And if we can get rid of the likes of Scott McTominay, Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Jadon Sancho, these players can generate some good money while also getting high wages off the books as well. And that will go a long way towards balancing the books. Macmillan says Branthwaite not being signed. United are done with defenders. Midfield is who they're getting done now. Dylan says, I reckon if we get Hermoso, he will be a clown wanting an important role and stuff, big wages. I reckon actually stay away. Bruno, the saviour of Manchester, big season incoming from our captain, hope so, and a new contract to be signed in the next week or so as well, hopefully. We should move on from Branthwaite and sign Fofana. Branthwaite not worth the money Everton want. Right, well then let's talk about midfielders and let's talk about the options going forward. Sky Sports have been reporting today that Man United are still working on possible arrivals in midfield. Talks are continuing with Burnley over the signing of Sander Berg, and dialogue also remains open with Monaco over Youssouf Fofana. Now we know Youssouf Fofana is being heavily linked with AC Milan, but we've already nipped in and stolen a player from under AC Milan's nose, in this summer transfer window already with Joshua Zirkzee. So, look, I mean, Sander Berg coming in from Burnley, while it doesn't blow the jocks off me, I do still think that he would be a decent addition to the squad. We went through his stats last week and what he potentially offers. Defensively, he's decent. Going forward, he's decent as well. He likes to get on the ball. He likes to play. He likes to carry the ball up the field. You're looking at the Burnley fans absolutely drooling over him, but you're also like I'm scrolling through an awful lot of Twitter and kind of landing on some of the Sheffield United accounts and Sheffield United fans who were speaking about him, and there wasn't a lot of positivity, to be quite honest with you. A lot of them saying that he's not that mobile and he's got a mistake in him, so on and so forth. And look, I understand all of these concerns. Ugarte is the number one option for CDM. He really is. And I think we can safely say, just because we are, continuing talks with Burnley for Sander Berg, doesn't mean we're not prioritising Ugarte. And we've seen this very quickly from Ineos in their first transfer window. We don't know who they're going to sign. We thought the Ligt was number one, and then all of a sudden, bosh, it was Lenny Yoro. Before we knew it, we had him get out of fucking France, get over here to Manchester, come to us, and happy days. So while we're hearing all of these talks about Sander Berg and Yusuf Fofana, we could get a here we go tomorrow for Ugarte. You would just never know. You know what I mean? So and that's great. It's great as a United fan. It means we're doing good business. And again, look, narrow-minded numpties from other teams, Arsenal, jumping in with laughing faces about Berg, while I literally just explained, he is probably a backup option, to not getting Ugarte. But in terms of Yusuf Fofana, he's a player now that I would like. I really would like him. I think, I think he fits the mould a little bit better than Sander Berg does. Look, Sander Berg played with Sheffield United and Burnley and got relegated with both of them, okay? So that doesn't bode well for him. However, we've spoken about this for, I don't know, it's nearly 12 months now since, well, it's about 10 months since we kind of heard that Jim Radcliffe was taken over. And it's longer yet since we heard that the Glazers were putting the club up for sale. So we were saying that, we were hoping that the day of signing the Galactico signings, the 30-year-old centre-back or the 30-year-old midfielder on massive wages just because of his name, we were hoping that them days are over. So, look, we've said on numerous occasions that for the first couple of transfer windows, we're going, well, not everybody, you all make up your own mind, but me specifically, I am going to trust Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, Ten Hag to identify players that fit the way we want to play and bring in the players that fit that mould, And if Sander Berg is one of them players, bring it on. Let's go. I'll get his name on the back of my jersey. I definitely won't, but you know what I mean. And that trust level has to be there between fans and the new structure at Manchester United. Because if it isn't, we're just going to have this repeat cycle of bollocks on the internet all the time going, that rants and bants lad. I mean, he should just be called rants because there's no bants on the channel at all. It's fucking so negative all the time. Negative. Talking about agendas this and agendas that other. And the same lad has an agenda against Garnacho, calls him our number 17, doesn't even call him by his name. It's just negative all the time. Let's just take a step back for a second. Let's look at how much change has gone on at the club in the last 9 months, okay? Give these lads that are new to the club behind the scenes the time to implement the ideas that they have. They've been successful at other clubs. I don't see why they can't be successful at United, but it's going to take time. It really, really is. Let me see. What else are people saying here? Oshin says, saw Skyer trying to link us with Calvert-Lewin. I'm going to get onto that in a moment. The steady Eddie like Sander Berg might not be a disaster if we don't get Ugarte, says Finn. Oshin says Sander Berg didn't play all those games on his own though. That's absolutely 100% true, and that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, Oshin, as well. You don't, I mean, look at I always go back and talk about Liverpool when they signed Robertson from Hull for like 15 million. And look what he turned out to be. You don't have to sign ready-made players all of the time. And you know, we were talking about Ranić even before Ten Hag got here, and how, you know, we were loving the fact that he was potentially going to stay on, because he was the one that can identify these players under the radar and get them in before they're £80 million players, you know. So let's trust the process. I still think Ugarte is coming. He has to PSG want him out, so we will get him, says Dylan. Well, look, there's a lot of positives when it comes to Ugarte so far. First and foremost is that they've signed João Neves. Second of all, we've agreed personal terms, and Ugarte wants us only. We just have to find that fee. We just have to find that fee between PSG and ourselves, and I think a deal can be done. And I think it could be one where United will maybe not allow go to the very end of the transfer window, but I think they're quite comfortable. Maybe not. That's probably the wrong way to say it. They're probably more comfortable with their midfield than they were with their defence. Okay, now that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be making signings, but I do think that we'll probably try and move somebody on first, because you can't bring in Ugarte for that money and then not get rid of a player between then and the end of the transfer window. It's too big a risk, because if we come too close to FFP again and PSR or whatever it is, you know, I think we will be on the borderline of it if we sign someone like Ugarte and don't get a McTominay or a Casemiro out the door, you know, and I think that's too big of a risk. I really do. Will this rule with the Ineos 26 and under be in effect for the next few years, or is it just this window? It's a guideline more than anything else, Dylan, but it is what they want to do going forward. But I don't see it as being a big issue. You know, if the opportunity arises to sign a world-class 27-year-old, I'm sure they will be involved in looking at him. But I think they're just they're not strict rules. They're just guidelines that they're trying to follow. That's all. D, thanks for the 6 months. Absolutely appreciate it. Half a year of the best United channel available anywhere. I appreciate it, my man. Absolute legend. Thanks for the support as always. If anyone else wants to become an official channel member, guys, link is in the description. Click the join button underneath the video. Some great extra content coming up for the members in the next few weeks as well. So go check it out. Great to see new people in the chat as well, guys. If you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. We're very, very close to 11,000 subscribers now, so I do appreciate it. And follow us on all of our socials as well. All of the links are in the description of the video. Dylan says, saw a bit on Sander Berg, bit of highlights, and he looks fine. Richmond says, Zub just rejected Liverpool. They'll want our target in Ugarte. They won't get him because Ugarte wants no one else other than United, which is good. Fire says, when will Manchester United announce the Ligt and Mazraoui transfer? I reckon we'll get it first thing tomorrow, to be honest with you. They've done their medicals today, and they were doing all of the social media work and stuff in the afternoon, supposedly. So I reckon we'll get it first thing tomorrow. Ugarte could come on loan to start with. That's an option, Lincoln. Absolutely it is. And it's one that United have been keeping a close eye on over the last few weeks as well. So yeah, I mean, that's good business by United if we do that. Give them their asking price for Ugarte, 20 mil up front and the rest over 4 years, and then sell him on. Well, again, yeah, I mean, you know, we're talking about FFP here and PSR and all. Look at the De Ligt deal. It's spread over 3 years. You know what I mean? So that does, you know, soften the blow a little bit. Patrick says, if they pass the medical tonight, they will be eligible to play against Fulham on Friday. Yeah, look, I'll show you. Where is it? Yeah, Fabrizio Romano has already been saying Matthias de Ligt and Mazraoui will be available for United on Friday night against Fulham. So we were just, you probably missed the start, but we were discussing whether they actually will go straight into the team or not. Casemiro will stay. He has had a good pre-season and is match fit. Yeah, and he had a very good Community Shield game, in fairness to him. Right, guys, I want to move it on and talk a little bit about, we're after speaking about that, yeah, we'll talk really quick about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Fabrizio Romano has said today Wan-Bissaka will sign his West Ham contract, or he has signed his West Ham contract already today. All documents are in place. West Ham and United are all set on their docs too for £15 million agreement to be signed. Just waiting on the official announcement from West Ham. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka does does move on, and he leaves Manchester United after 5 years, I think, at the club. Look, great servant to Manchester United, I would have to say. I love the professionalism of him. Look, not the greatest modern day fullback, you would say, but is up there with one of the best 1v1 defenders in the world. I have great time for him. I love the no nonsense with him, just puts his head down, works hard, never any issues with him, off the field. And yeah, he'll be missed at United, because I love that old school fullback. But we just wish him the best of luck, and I think he'll do really, really, really well at West Ham, and keep a close eye on him over the season. But best of luck to him. But yeah, again, look, we've spoken about sentimentality before, and not trying to be too sentimental about players, because we move on and we try and improve, and the team has to progress all of the time. And we have to move on players like Wan-Bissaka to do that, you know what I mean? But I think he'll be a brilliant, brilliant signing for West Ham, I really do. Right, want to talk about the other end of the field, guys. And Oshin mentioned it there in the chat. A couple of people mentioned it in the chat, by the way. And it's in relation to a striker. Sky Sports have been reporting today that Ineos are considering Calvert-Lewin as a frontman who has entered the final year of his contract. We'll go down through this report here. Transfer chiefs could turn their attention to the forward department once again. Despite being bolstered by the addition of Joshua Zirkzee, Erik ten Hag... Let me zoom in on this a little bit. Erik ten Hag... I'm after losing where I was. Enters the new campaign with one fewer option at his disposal in the form of a first choice number 9 Rasmus Højlund, who will miss the next 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. As well as that, he also has senior figures harbour concerns over Zirkzee's lack of experience in the English top flight, meaning he's unlikely to occupy a starting role from the offset. Against Manchester City, Bruno Fernandes deputised in the false 9 role. Should the club opt to dip into the transfer market, they're seemingly considering candidates who boast years of Premier League experience. United have frequently been linked with Brentford talisman Ivan Toney, but Sky Sports' Dharma Shed claims Dominic Calvert-Lewin is now among a number of forwards on the Reds' shortlist. The Everton frontman has 54 league goals to his name across 8 seasons. What? Thought that was going to be over like 2 or 3 years. Across 8 seasons. And has just entered the final 12 months of his contract at Goodison Park. He also adds that, however, it's unlikely Ineos will facilitate further signings in the position unless sales are made before deadline day. So again, that goes back to what we've been saying, hasn't it? That it's going to be players out, I think, now before players come in. And again, we've got to be very, 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 very careful with FFP and PSR, because there's no bullshit anymore with the Premier League. They're going to come down heavy on teams breaking the rules. And could you imagine United being hit with a 6-point deduction? We would be the laughing stock of the entire world. We would. So I think United have to be very careful here. And I trust the backroom department there now. They're not going to go out, make signings willy-nilly and, put us in deep shit future, further down the line. I don't think that will happen. Would I like to see Calvert-Lewin come in? Again, it wouldn't get me massively excited, but I would gladly take him at the club if the money was right and the contracts were right and so on and so forth. I wouldn't be against it. I think we are going to be light in that area, especially with Rasmus Højlund being out. And I do think we'll see an awful lot more of the false 9 role being played. And I think Zirkzee is one of the players that can play that role. But I'm not against that role. I mean, we played that role from the Newcastle game right through to the end of the season last year. I think it was 5 games we played it. And we looked a completely different team. We looked really, really good. And it's the same formation that beat City in the FA Cup final and nearly beat them last weekend, So I'm okay with it. And again, a lot of people saying that, worried about goals. That is a concern. If you're going with a false 9 next season, or for the start of the season while Rasmus Højlund is out, your wingers have to score. Garnacho, Ahmad, Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. they all have to chip in with goals. They really do, because if they don't, your false nine, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You know what I mean? Or Xerxes, when he comes in, has to start scoring goals. You know, if you're missing an out-and-out number 9 and you're changing your formation because of that, the players that are covering that have to chip in and get goals. Now, look, Garnacho got a lovely goal on the weekend. Rashford looked dangerous, missed the target a couple of times, but was getting into good areas. And if we can start putting some of them chances away, the 6 weeks of Rasmus Højlund being out mightn't seem as long as, you know, it potentially would if we weren't scoring goals. So goals are vital, as they always are, of course, as they always are. Let's see what you guys think here. Heard we were in for Evan Ferguson for around 45 to 50 million. I heard little reports on that as well. Didn't bring it into tonight's show. Have a look at it over the coming days and see if there's anything more come of it. But again, I mean, if he's the one that's been identified, brilliant. But again, you're bringing in another striker under the age of 21. You know what I mean? And that would be 3 of them that we would have. So 54 goals in about 54 seasons. Been around forever and never really pushed on. Dylan says, don't get Calvert-Lewin. He's another Weghorst. Help if he comes in. 54 goals in 8 seasons, so just under 7 goals a season. Yeah, he did have one really good season as well, didn't he? 2 or 3 years ago, he had a really good season. Do you think United will go for Ferguson? Well, look, we were linked with him last year. Okay, now I know it's a new structure and a new backroom team and all that kind of stuff, but if they identify him and they go for him, brilliant, let's go. I would love to see an Irishman playing up front for Manchester United. It would be brilliant. You know, I don't think we have any Irish players at United, especially not in the first team anyway. So yeah, I would love it. I really would. Heard that Man City's 115 charges are being looked into get in. Yeah, well, of course they are. They wouldn't be there if they weren't. Who are these senior figures worried about Xerxes? If they're players, they should have... Sorry. If they're players, they should have looked at after their own game. If senior staff, why bother buying him? Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, look, senior, these are just news reports, you know, that pinch of salt that we talk about. It's just drumming up nonsense to get clicks about United. They wouldn't have bought Xerxes if they didn't think he was a good player and didn't fit the way that United want to play going forward. Hope we don't go for Calvert-Lewin or Ferguson, says D. Danny says... Thank you on no thank you on Calvert-Lewin. What's the point of signing him? He's not going to get ahead of Xerxes and Højlund, so he will not play at all. What a waste of time and money. But again, just to play devil's advocate on that one, Danny, you know, we've spoke as well about needing players to give our main players a rest. Now, if the numbers were right for Calvert-Lewin and you could get him for relatively cheap and on decent wages, you know, that we're not giving him too much, I would have no problem with Calvert-Lewin coming in and being a backup striker. And then if Rasmus Højlund gets an injury and he's out for 3 games, Calvert-Lewin is in for 3 games. Brilliant, you know, brilliant. Happy days. I wouldn't be completely against it. He couldn't score. I won't read out the rest of that because I don't want to get demonetized. Dylan says, they say Xerxes has no experience with English football, but keeping him on the bench, he's not going to get experience. Listen, lads, let's just all take a little chill pill around Joshua Xerxes for a minute, all right? He didn't play against Man City in the Community Shield. No big deal. No big deal. There's a number of different reasons that might be the case. One is that he is being kept for the game on Friday night. And did I hear as well that United had a behind closed doors friendly today? Or was that nonsense? I don't know if I did. And second of all, it may be that his fitness levels are just not up to scratch yet and he's not integrated enough into the squad. And that's okay too. You know what I mean? That's okay too. Let's take a chill pill on Xerxes. He's a young guy. He's learning his trade. He'll be okay. You know what I mean? He's got good coaches. He got Van Nistelrooy teaching him how to fucking put the ball in the net and all of these kind of things. He'll be all right. Just give him his time. Give him his head. I said it time and again, to Brazil, we should go to get Nascimento. Nascimento? All right. Finn says, we nearly always had the best finisher in the league. Sir Alex Ferguson made sure of that. We need to find that man again and get back to where we want. I don't think Marcus is any good anymore, and he is too on and off. There we go. Loads of comments, guys. Sorry I can't get through them all. I do want to move it on though, because we're pressed for time. I want to talk a little bit about Jadon Sancho. Reports today are suggesting that Paris Saint-Germain pursuit of him is likely to end after they signed that name there. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. So yeah, basically they've signed a new player in the wide position, and reports are suggesting that it could mean, not that it does mean, that it could mean that Jadon Sancho to PSG might just cool down. Yeah, now this is a disappointing one for me, because anyone who knows and who watches the channel an awful lot will know that I'm not a big fan of Jadon Sancho. I think he should leave. I'm nothing against him personally. I don't like his attitude at Manchester United, in terms of the falling out with Erik ten Hag, and he's done next to nothing at the club since he's been here. So look, I do think it's time that we move him on. I do hope Paris Saint-Germain come back in, but again, United are being very strategic, and they're not going to let players leave for less than what they deem to be acceptable. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one. And finally then as well, guys, second last. United set to discuss Victor Lindelof's exit during Monday's transfer meeting. There was a transfer meeting on today, supposedly with the powers that be at United. Obviously, we'll hear in the coming days and weeks, what that was about. But Victor Lindelof is high on the priority list to move on. Again, I do think he needs to go. Look, I like Victor Lindelof. I've got nothing against him. I don't think he was ever going to be that, mainstay at Manchester United. He's had some good games, he's had some bad games, just bang average in my opinion. Time to move him on. Let's get him out the door. If we can get 10 million for him, I'd be happy. Just take it, get the wages off the books, move on, reinvest it, and especially with the likes of De Ligt coming in now, and if we go back in for Branthwaite, then it's going to be curtains. And finally, guys, now don't mind the picture, because the picture is weird. Club retain interest in Manchester United star. This is Turkish giants Galatasaray retain interest in Manchester United midfielder Scott McTominay this summer, even though they have yet to get close to his valuation, according to Sky Sports. So basically, what it means is that obviously we know that Fulham have kind of cooled their interest in Scott McTominay a little bit. They're not really ready to meet Man United's valuation. Will they come back in? I think they probably will before the end of the transfer window. But Galatasaray remain interested in Scott McTominay. They will struggle to meet our valuation of Scott McTominay, to be quite honest with you. So I think they're just playing the long game more than anything else. I think if Scott McTominay was to end up at Galatasaray, it would be a deadline day deal where United need to get him gone, and Galatasaray are going, there you go, and you might have to take a little bit less than you would be hoping. But the fact that we're hearing these reports that, Victor Lindelof, Jadon Sancho, Scott McTominay are all being linked with moves away from the club can only be a good thing as well, because, like I said, we do need to get players off the books, especially if we're going to be bringing in, a central midfielder before the end of the transfer window. We'll have to get players off the books. We just will. Now, I would love to see Ugarte come in on loan maybe. But again, we're talking about, PSG. They've had interest in Jadon Sancho. We have interest in Ugarte. Let's get a swap deal done. Let's swap it up. You know what I mean? Like the, I don't know, Pokemon cards years ago out in the schoolyard, or you'd swap Pogs. I'll give you 5 Pogs for a Slammer. 90s kids will understand that one. All the young guns here now. That's a throwback. I can't really, that even popped into my mind, to be honest with you. Give me them 5 Pogs and I'll give you a Slammer. And then you'd have the steel Slammers as well. Remember them? busting them out, and then all the ones that turn over, you'd win them all. Anyway, yeah, the viewer count has just dramatically dropped there. But anyway, guys, look, I really do appreciate everybody watching. If you are new to the channel, do me a favour and hit that subscribe button. We're so very close to 11,000 subscribers. We may have even gone over it in this live, because the numbers have been really, really good, in fairness. Do smash the like button as well. Check out the options below for becoming an official channel member. If anyone is interested in it, channel members get the opportunity to come on to our match reaction video live after each watch-along game throughout the season. So if that's something you think you'd like to do, come on and give your opinion. Join as a member down below. The options are available there. Go check it out. It supports the channel really well. And check out the merch as well, guys. We've got new merch as well. Brand new merch store. I don't know if they're being linked live under the actual video on YouTube. That's supposed to happen. I'm not sure if it does. You're supposed to see it underneath. Maybe not. I'll have a look into that later. It's no big deal. But yeah, check out the merch store as well. We've got some really cool designs there. Loving the Lenny Yoro one, to be honest. But yeah, happy days, guys. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. I'll be back again tomorrow night. Make sure you're hitting that notification bell as well, guys, because as soon as we go live, you get notified, and we'll be doing a watch along on Friday night as well. So do appreciate it. Have a great rest of your evening, guys. I'll catch you tomorrow night. Until then, I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.